Alrighty, welcome back, boys and girls. It's your main math man mission coming to you live from Walk-through Middle School. And in this video, what we're going to be working on is that section D.8, where we're putting those rational numbers in order. So again, make sure that you are using this wonderful Desmos calculator, and as well, what I'm going to put up here as well is I'm going to use this graph paper or this grid paper, so that way it is easy to line up your decimal values. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So what I'm going to do, first it says put these numbers in order from greatest to least. And so what that is that's that descending order. So let me change these values to decimal form. So I'm going to do 4 over 5. And what I can do is I can type it in to my Desmos calculator, 4 over 5, and then again on the right side it comes up. And so you want to make sure, okay, hey, I can hit enter to start a new line, so that way it has those values there. So now I have -9, that's already in decimal form, and so we can just leave it like that. We have 8 over 16, that's going to be 0.5, and last, again, they're not always in order, but we can see what comes out of it. We have negative and 28 over 40. Alright, so now that we have our decimal values, I'm going to go back over to my wonderful graph paper, or excuse me, grid paper. I'm going to say, alright, make sure you guys can still see that. So I'm going to have my first value, so I'm going to type it in, I have 0 and 0.8. Again, make sure that you can type those decimals in first. That way they are easy to line up, and that way it's already taken care of. And I kind of have it spaced out, that way it's a little bit easier to work with, but we'll get more practice with it. And again, make sure also too you are using only one digit per column, so that way you're not crunching in or making it hard to see. So you want to make sure you're only using one digit per column. So now I have -9. So how do I show that? Well, I have to make sure I have that in the right column. So again, that's going to be in the ones column, and I'm going to say that's a -9. Now I have 0.5, and again I have that that negative at 0.7. All right. So now let me switch back. So let's see what we have here. Alright, so as you are working with these wonderful decimal values, you want to make sure that you can align those up. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to use this Desmos. Let me actually make that up front. So you got to put that down. About now, there we go. And you want to make sure that you can cover it up. So I'm going to be looking at, okay, I'm looking for the greatest number. So I'm looking for, okay, well, I cover up these values and I can see, hey, as I'm looking at this, I have these values here, and these two values that are negative, I can already cancel those out. So I'm going to be mainly looking at this 0.8 and this 0.5. And so when I look at it, I say, okay, with that 0.8 or 0.5, which one's greater? I usually like to think of money. It's a good way to think about it. So which one's greatest, 80 cents or 50 cents? It would be 80 cents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, 80 cents needs to be first. Well, which one is that? In original form, that is our 4/5. And so let me bring this out a little bit further. There we go. I can actually see it. So that's going to be that 4/5. So if we look at our IXL, this one's already in order. So again, you would be dragging and dropping those, but that one's already in order, so we're good. So now that I used it, I can either cross it out. Actually, yeah, I can do a simple, I can use that draw tool. Let me see if I can do this simply for ourselves without it breaking. So let's do draw. I would like to draw, and can I cross it out? I can. Something like that, maybe. It's just showing that, hey, I already used it. Okay. Again, now out of these ones that are still here, which one's the greatest? Well, we would know that, hey, that positive number is going to be our greatest. And so we can say, all right, I'm going to, let me say that's going to be our next greatest. Let me drag that one over. Let me cross it out to show that I used it. Again, you can just put one line through. That way it keeps it simple. So now, again, we're thinking, okay, if you're going on the number line, I'm now going from the far right, I'm going less. So I'm going to the left of 0 now. So I'm passing over 0. What am I going to hit first? Am I going to hit -9 first, or am I going to hit this -0.7? Well, I would hit this number first because I'd have to go further to the left to get to -9. So that -9 is actually going to be last. So again, that's kind of how these are ordered. Again, you want to use that Desmos calculator, get those decimal values, use that grid paper, that way you can line them up, and then you want to make sure that you can order them appropriately. All right, so that one's good. Loading in. So let me clear this out. So we do this. So let's do this. There it is. And there it is. Got those. And let me clear out my Desmos calculator. Perfect. All right. So now let's keep going because we're on a roll. So let's say, all right, we have this next one. It says put these rational numbers in order from greatest to least. So again, it's going to be the greatest to least. So right away, what I can do is, hey, maybe I'm a little bit better, but I want to still make sure I am getting those values in decimal form first. So I'm going to say, all right, I have 3. That's already in decimal form. Actually, let me read left to right. So I have negative, and I have 17 over, and then 34. I have my decimal value as -0.5. I have 18 over 20, which is 0.9. I have -6 over 30, which is -0.2. And I have 3, which is just that decimal. So now that I have those values in decimal form, I can say, all right, let me put them in this wonderful craft paper for ourselves, or grid paper. So I'm going to say I clear these out. Let's try typing one last time. There we go. So we have negative, and we have 0, point, and then 5. Our next number is 0.9, and then we have negative and then 0. Let's try it again. Set negative 0, and then we have 0.2. And our last value was what again? We said it was 3. Right, so we just have the value of 3. And again, if you need to fill in that decimal value for yourself, that way it's a little bit easier to see, feel free to. So now, all right, let's see. When I'm looking at this grid, I can say, all right, I need to line up my columns. So again, I'm gonna use this kind of block off some things. So I'm looking for the greatest value. Again, I always start at the far left. And now since I'm talking about a greatest value, I need to be saying, all right, I'm looking for the largest positive number. So out of these numbers, which one is going to be the largest? Well, you'd say, hey, I know that I have 3 is going to be my largest, and so I can select that as my largest. Let me put that in order, so I can say that 3 is going to be my largest. Again, I can cross it off just doing it once. So let me just do that once. Now I could say, all right, out of these values, which one's going to be the largest? Well, I have 2 negative numbers. Let me actually move this over a little bit further. I have 2 negative values. That means that the only positive number is going to be next. So I'm going to say, all right, this in original form, what do we say? Always check. That's 18 over 20. So that's going to be my next value. That's greatest. Getting closer to 0. So now when we compare these two, again, be very mindful. You're saying, okay, as you're crossing over 0 and going into the negatives, what you're going to see first? Well, I'm going to see negative 0.2 before I see negative 0.5. So that negative 0.5, that is actually going to be our least. That's going to be our smallest value. So again, in original form, I had 3, 18 over 20, negative 6 over 30, and then negative 17 over 34. Make sure you're taking time with these, adding them in very carefully for yourself. Again, just make sure you can see how to do those. Again, it's super simple, but make sure you are using those Desmos calculator carefully and using that grid paper as well. And as always, super slam that subscribe button.